Hello everybody, welcome back to our channel, kaviwebdesigns. Previously, we have learned about JavaScript data type, but if you didn't watch it, I recommend you to watch it before watching this video. Today, we're going to learn about JavaScript functions. But before we get into the video, if you want to support us and if you want us to make more videos just like this, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. So now let's jump into our JavaScript e-course. JavaScript functions. A JavaScript function is a block of code designated to perform a particular task. A JavaScript function is executed when something calls it. For example, over here we have an example where we have written a code for the function where the function computes the product of P1 and P2. So as you can see over here, we have declared a function using the function keyword over here, and then we have given it the name of my function and giving it some parameter, and then we are returning P1 times P2 as a value. So now let's get a better visualization of this example over here in Visual Studio Code. So now, as you can see, this is the same example over in our PPT. Here we have in the body a header 1, paragraph, and a paragraph with the ID of demo. So as you can see over here, we have a function where we are declaring it using the function keyword, and then we are naming it my function. We are giving some arguments over here in this parentheses, and then we are returning P1 times P2. So we are declaring a variable using let name result, and we are calling my function, and in the parentheses we are giving the value for P1 as 4 and the value of P2 as 3. So then JavaScript will run this, and then it will return the value over here as 4 times 3, which is 12. Then we are using document.getElementById method over here, and we are getting the ID of demo in this document, and then we are replacing it with the value of this over here. So now let's run this using Chrome. So as you can see over here, we have a header, a paragraph, and in the empty paragraph, JavaScript has replaced it with 12. Why? Because we have written a function over here, and here it is invoking that function or calling it, and then we are giving the value for P1 as 4 and the value of P2 as 3, and then we are multiplying both of them, and then we are returning it to here, and then we are displaying the value. So now let's go back to the PPT. JavaScript function syntax. A JavaScript function defined with the function keyword followed by a name followed by parentheses. Function names can contain letters, digits, underscore, dollar signs. They have the same rules as the variables. Parentheses may include parameter names separated by commas. So as you can see in here is a parenthesis, and in there we have a parameter name separated by commas. The code can be executed, but the function is placed inside curly brackets. So as you can see over here in this example, we have the function, its name, and in the parentheses we have parameters separated by commas, and then we have used curly brackets, and in there code will be executed. Function parameters are listed inside the parentheses in the function definition. Function arguments are the values received by the function when it's invoked. Inside the function, the arguments, the parameters, behave as local variables. In our JavaScript variables, let and const, right? So as you can see over here, we can write over here a variable, an example variable where the variable can only be accessed inside the function, nowhere else. Function invocation. The code inside the function will execute when something invokes it or calls the function. It can happen when an event occurs, when a user clicks a button, when it's invoked, called from JavaScript code, and automatically. You will learn more about the function invocation later in this tutorial. Function return. When JavaScript returns a function statement, the function will stop executing. If the function was invoked from a statement, JavaScript will return to execute the code after the invoking statement. The functions often compute the return value. The return value is returned back to the caller. So as you can see in this previous example over here, we have used the return keyword where we're returning the value of this to the caller. So this is the same principle over here where we are talking. So as you can see over here, here is the example example of the things we talked about. So here we are declaring a variable named x and giving it my function, and then in the parentheses over here we are giving the value of a over here as 4 and b over here as 3, and then we are declaring a function using the function keyword and naming it my function, and then we're giving it some arguments called a and b separated by commas, and then we're returning the value of a times b to the caller. So let's look at it in Visual Studio Code. So as you can see, here is the same example from our PPT, but there's just one little change over here. Here we're using document.getElementById method, and we're finding the ID of demo in this document, and then we're replacing it with the value of x. So now let's look into the body tag. We have a header, a paragraph, another paragraph with the ID of demo. So JavaScript will find this and replace it with the value of x. So now let's run this using Chrome. So as you can see over here, we have JavaScript functions, a call function which performs a calculation and returns the result, and then we have the paragraph which was empty. JavaScript has replaced it with 12. So let's look into the code a bit more detail. So as you can see over here, we are first declaring a variable, and then we are calling the function over here, and we are giving the arguments a value of 4, 3, and then JavaScript will run this 4 times 3, which will then return it back to the caller. So if we give a different variable like 5, 10, and then we run this again using Chrome, we will see that in the empty paragraph it's now replaced with 50, and we can call this 2 times. So I'm now writing a new paragraph tag with another ID of demo2. I'm not giving any space there, and then we're just gonna copy this and then paste it over here. Looks like JavaScript is giving an error as because there are 2 variables with the same name. So let's give this as y, and then replace the value of y in demo.2. So now let's give a different variable over here, so 70. So now when we run this, we'll see that we get our 2 empty paragraphs at 50 and 70. So as you can see over here, we can call the function as many times as we want. So now let's go back to the PPT. You may ask, why functions? With functions, you can reuse code. You can write code that can be used many times, as I showed you. You can also use the same code with different arguments to produce different results, as I showed you in the previous example. The bracket operator. The bracket operator invokes calls the function. So as you can see over here, we have a code where we are declaring a function using the function keyword and naming it to Celsius, and we're giving it an argument of Fahrenheit, and then over here we're using the return keyword to return the value to the caller, and we have written something. We have used brackets for 5 by 9 where JavaScript has to calculate that first, and then we are using times symbol, and in another bracket over here we are minusing the Fahrenheit minus 32. So as you can see over here in this code, we're declaring a variable named value, and then we are invoking the function, and then we are giving the value of Fahrenheit as 77. So let's get a closer look in Visual Studio Code. So as you can see over here, this is the same code in the example over here, and then we are using the same method, and then we are finding out the ID of demo and replacing it with the value of the variable value. So now let's run this using Chrome. So as you can see over here, we have JavaScript functions. We have a heading, a paragraph, and in the empty paragraph over here, JavaScript has replaced it with the value of 25. So let's see what's happening over here. So as you can see over here, in the function over here, we are using 2 Celsius as its name, and in the parentheses, we have given f as its argument. So over here, we use a return keyword to return the value to the caller, and then in the brackets over here, in the brackets operator over here, where JavaScript has to do the brackets first because of bitmaps, which is a mathematical rule. So as you can see, we are doing 5 divided by 9 times another bracket where we are using the f word over here. We're using f minus 32, and then over here we have declared a variable using let and named it value and given it and invoking the function to Celsius, and then we're giving f as the value of 77. So when we calculate all of this and return it to the value, the value will be 25. And then we are basically running it, and then we are basically displaying it in the ID of demo. Then we are displaying the value over here in this paragraph. So now when we run this, it will, in the empty paragraph over there, it will be 25. So now let's go back to the PPT. Accessing a function with the incorrect parameters can result in an incorrect answer. So as you can see over here, we have written the same function, and then over here in the let, we are declaring a variable called let, and then we are invoking the function, but we never have given a value for Fahrenheit. over here. So JavaScript will give an incorrect answer. So let's run this using Visual Studio Code. So as you can see over here, now we are displaying it using the document.getElementById method, and then we're displaying it in the paragraph, and then we're displaying what we're displaying is the value of the variable value. So now let's run this using Google Chrome. So as you can see over here, we have a header, a paragraph, and in the empty paragraph where we have the value of the variable value will give us an so not a value, not a number. As because we have never given the value of f. So now let's go back to the PPT. Accessing a function without the parentheses returns the function and not the function result. So as you can see over here, we have the same example as above, but here in the let we are declaring a variable using the keyword let and giving it the value of 2 Celsius without any parentheses or arguments. So now let's run this using Visual Studio Code to see what happens. So as you can see in the body over here, we have a h1, a paragraph, an empty paragraph with the ID of demo, and then we have an example over here, and then we are using the document.getElementById method, and we are getting the ID of demo, and then here we are replacing it with the value of the variable value. So when we run this using Chrome, we will see that we will get the result as the function we have written over here. As you can see, it looks very similar to the function that we have written over here, as because it is the function that we have written over here. So as you can see, JavaScript has returned us back with our function, as because we have never given any parentheses and any value. So if we give parentheses and then we give any value like 88, and then we run this using Chrome, we'll see that we will get a value called 3.111114, so which is basically pi. So now let's go back to our PPT. Note, as you see in the examples above, 2 Celsius refers to the function object and 2 Celsius with parentheses refers to the function result. Function used as a variable. Function can be used in the same way as you use variables in all types of formulas, assignments, and calculations. As you can see in this example over here, instead of using a variable to store the return value of a function, as you can see in this example, instead of using a variable to store the return value of a function, we are doing this. Let x2 equals Celsius 77. Then we are displaying, and then we are declaring a variable called text, and then we are adding a string plus the variable x plus Celsius. Or you can just use the function directly as a variable. So we are just using that text equals the temperature a string plus the function value where we have given f as 77 plus Celsius. So now let's look at it. Let's look at this example using Visual Studio Code. So now as you can see over here, we are using let text equals the temperature is a string, which is a string, plus we are invoking the function plus another string, and then we are displaying this variable called text, the variable text value over here, and then we are declaring the function. We are declaring the same function where function to Celsius, and then we get in the parentheses we're giving an argument, and then we are returning 5/9 in the brackets times in the bracket Fahrenheit minus 32 brackets close. So when we run this using Chrome, we will see that we have our heading, paragraph, and a string over here in JavaScript where we have written the string, the temperature is, and then our value 25, and then Celsius, which is another string. So now let's go back to PPT. Local variables. Variables declared within a JavaScript function become a local to the function, where local variables can be only accessed within the function. So as you can see in this example over here, in the function we are declaring a function using the function keyword, naming it my function, and we are using parentheses, but we haven't given any argument over here. And then the function over here, we have declared a variable named car name and given it the value of Volvo. And then, but then the code here can use the variable car name, but outside it cannot use the variable car name. So now let's look at this using Visual Studio Code. So as you can see over here, we have declared, as you can see over here, in the body section we have a header, paragraph with the ID of demo, another paragraph, so a paragraph with the ID of demo 1, another paragraph with the ID of demo 2. So let's look at the script tags here. We have using the let tag over here. Let text equals a string plus type of car name, and then we are using the document.getElementById method, and we are displaying the demo 1. We are displaying value of text in this demo 1 in this paragraph over here. Now we are giving a function. Now as you can see here, we have a function where we are declaring a variable named car name, and then we're giving it the value of Volvo. And then we are using the another let variable and declaring another variable called text, and then we are giving it another string value plus type of car name plus an empty string plus the car name plus the variable of car name. And then we are using document.getElementById method, and we are replacing the content inside an element which has the ID of demo2 with the value of the text, and then we are invoking my function. So now let's run this using Chrome. So as you can see over here, we have a header, our paragraph, and in the empty paragraph, we have written in the global scope of text variable outside, we have written the value outside and then the type of which is undefined. And then inside over here, the text variable has the string inside string Volvo. As because this text over here is in the global scope, and then the type of car name is never declared in the global scope. It is declared in the local scope of the function. And then over here, the type of car name is a string, and then the value of the car name is Volvo. So JavaScript will just declare it as Volvo. So folks, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to support us, please like, share, subscribe to our channel KaviWebdesigns, and keep on watching our videos, and have a nice day.